Well, welcome everybody. We are very happy that you could join us today for our third community learning series, which gives students a sneak peek of what to expect as a kinesiology student at UNC. My name is Jill Wagner. I'm one of the academic advisors for the kinesiology program. I'm joined today by Whitney Harris, the other academic advisor in the program, and our guest today is Dr. Tanya Pruitt-White. So I am excited to introduce this week's guest, Dr. Tanya Pruitt-White. She's a clinical assistant professor in the Department of Kinesiology and Nutrition. She's a great advocate for social justice and for the field of sport and exercise psychology. She's won numerous awards for her teaching and for her leadership, and she really just has a very infectious, positive energy. And if you're lucky enough to cross paths with her, over the course of your day is going to be instantly better. We just adore her over here. So without further ado, I will turn it over. Everybody give a big welcome to Dr. Tanya Pruitt-White.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe. That was incredibly kind. So today I'm going to start off and let you know a little bit about myself, my background, the courses I teach, and a little preview to that. And then after that, we will go through a meditation together so we can hopefully experience some calm in these times. So thank you for joining. So who am I? I think that what's important in recognizing is that I feel that I'm more than just a professor. I care deeply about people. I love learning. I believe that while our physical bodies are so incredibly important, you'll notice that I teach a lot more of the socio-emotional classes. And so I feel that we are holistic beings. So I have a PhD in sport and exercise psychology, and while I'm trained in this manner, I've had experiences throughout life that have made me recognize that, our mind's important, our soul's important, as well as our body, and they work integrated together to be our ultimate self. So that's a little bit about my background. In terms of the courses I teach stress management, health coaching, sports psych, nutrition counseling, and the foundations of college teaching at UIC. So in terms of stress management, one of the things I wanted to share is that I started off teaching this course with topics that I thought were important. And then it simply began to morph into students and I co-create a calendar for whatever students want to talk about and experience that semester. So we always generally end and start with a meditation, not always. But we also talk about things that students want to, like relationships, financial stress, managing parents' expectations, goal setting. And we also have talked about politics. I never try to put in my own view, but creating space in a course like stress management so that students can have conversations. I also teach health coaching, and simply in health coaching, what we talk about is how can we help students and clients and people go through this process of behavior change by guiding them in our interactions with them. Sports psychology is my training, and in this course, we do all sorts of things. We learn about how to build confidence, self-efficacy, how do we reduce our arousal levels, how do we work in teams, communicate effectively, and how do we become leaders that we need in our teams, our societies, and maybe even our sport teams. In terms of nutrition counseling, this was a new course that I taught, and I do not have a background in nutrition, but what I had the experience and pleasure of doing was helping some of the master's and bachelor students in nutrition learn some skills to work with their clients when they're thinking about how do they understand the psychology of nutrition and the human, and get them also to move towards the lifestyles that they want. And then foundations of college teaching mostly will not apply to undergrads, but it's a graduate college level class to teach future teachers on how to become better instructors. And like Joe said, I am deeply committed to advocacy and research. I have a heart for social justice, and I've started to embrace this. I work in diversity issues and challenges and values in the Association of Applied Sports Psychology. And I actively work on my personal anti-racism journey, as well as helping others in the field of sport and exercise psychology and in the community on their own journey towards being an anti-racist, which in these times is very needed, as we all know. In addition, I do work in sexual misconduct prevention and consent training for colleges and universities, mostly athletic departments, but that is something that I value deeply. So that's a little bit about me, but let's talk a little bit about what we could experience in the classes I teach. Every class has a strong experiential component, and we learn how to communicate with one another, and it's really a space where I am not the ultimate authority, where students' lived experiences, students' thoughts, opinions, interpretations of the readings always matter. But some of the things we could expect to experience in the courses I teach are things like cultural humility and how we communicate from our own culture, as well as the need to understand other cultures. We also work on our own self-reflexivity, meaning when our own emotions arise from a comment, a statement, how do we respond? How are we interpreted by others because of our own social and cultural identities? And how can we be more socially aware to be better practitioners in the world around us, and people really at the end of the day in the world around us? We also do activities on building confidence, not just in other people. We are all human beings where we have bad days, we fail. And so how do we rebuild that confidence? So I'll talk about an activity we do in the courses in just a moment. And then I firmly believe that every human being has the right to self-actualize. And there's things going on that cause people not to be able to self-actualize. And so we'll talk about that in a little bit. And at the end of the day, when we think about kinesiology, the body, mind, and spirit as working together, I believe that every human being has something that we're trying to heal from an experience or an identity that is not accepted in society, and coming into our own and recognizing our own power and voice, and then helping other people do the same. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about what these mean. So I know that I'm using terminology that maybe seems a little bit foreign. So in terms of cultural humility and why I believe this is incredibly important is that it used to be that we could become competent in cultural awareness. But really right now we all have to have humility, because if we are working in a city like Chicago in the future as physical therapists, coaches, athletic trainers, occupational therapists, whatever it might be, we are not going to be working with people who are exactly like us, from the communities that we came from, with the cultural, social identities that we have, the gender expressions that we've learned to be socialized in. And so we really have to be open to other people's experiences, respect these differences, and recognize that every day that we wake up, we should be attempting to learn more, not only about ourselves, but also the people around us, and so that we can come from a place of knowing that we'll never have it all figured out. And so in the courses that I teach, most courses we start with this space, because at UIC in our kinesiology department, the beautiful thing is that there is much diversity in those rooms and those spaces, and online classes. And so we start from this space of really trying to be culturally humble as human beings and students and learners. In that light, in terms of self-reflexivity, if we are going to be in any of the courses that I teach, whether it be stress management, health coaching, sports psychology, we have to really think about our own identities that we're bringing into the world when we step outside, because we can't be a great personal trainer or physical therapist with someone else unless we've done our own work. And so we talk about things like, what are the parts of my identity that I'm aware of viscerally every day? What parts do I feel about my identity or who I am that are most misunderstood? And so sometimes that could be one's femininity, it could be one's race, it could be one's sexual identity, maybe their socioeconomic status, or the community that they come from. And so we open up spaces for the students and myself. I'm not a gazer on this. I engage with students, and we talk about this so that we can understand ourselves, so that we can also further then understand other people as well. And so really what I like to talk about with students is that any work that we do with other human beings, we have to first look at ourselves before we can effectively lead other people. Wouldn't we all love to have confidence every morning that we wake up? And I personally think about this in terms of a lot of people are going to have doubts that we might not be able to achieve the things that we want to. That could be in terms of our education, our career goals, the book you want to write, or an athletic success that you want to achieve one day. And so Serena Williams said, you have to believe in yourself when no one else does. And so this confidence is something that we work through in many of the classes I teach through experiential learning. Things of like not being humble. This is a time in confidence not to be humble, but what are your gifts? What are you really good at? What does this world need that only you can give? And so we try to, in the courses that I teach, embed this throughout the courses. Because most of us are not innately confident. So then what is, you might be like, well, what is self-confidence? And so there are individuals who have dispositional self-confidence. This means that they have this confidence in themselves no matter where they are. They seem to be confident when they're giving a presentation. When you see them at the gym working out, they just have this confidence. They're confident in the workplace. And so it's just who they confidence, or they've been socialized in a family or surrounding that has always built them up. On the other hand, individuals also have this state confidence. So for example, I might be very confident when I'm in front of the classroom and teaching a class. But this is a lived example. When I did my first Instagram Live, I did not have state confidence. It felt really awkward. And so this is when, for example, an athlete might be very confident in their athletic arena, the football field, the swimming and diving, wherever, the pool, wherever it might be. But then when you take that same individual into the classroom or in social settings, they may not still have that aura or belief in themselves and that confidence. So we talk through these things and try to build one another's confidence up throughout the course and learn how to enhance our own confidence. As I said before, I do believe that every human being, we're all attempting to self-actualize. And basically what this is not basically only being well physically, but that we're finding things in life that make our life very full and meaningful. So what I try to tell students is that, yes, we may go and become a doctor, a physical therapist, and we may have a six-figure job, but that does not mean that individual is self-actualizing. It doesn't mean that they feel peace in their purpose of what they're doing and feel fulfilled by that. And so we talk about how can we become a self-actualized human being. And many of us, this will be a journey that we're on throughout our entire life. And so in this light, in our classes, we talk about we cannot self-actualize until other areas of Maslow's hierarchy of needs are met. And so if you look at this, right, it's a tier, a pyramid. And so until people's physiological needs are met, these basic needs and also a safety, they can't feel these feelings of love and belonging and self-esteem. And so if we think about COVID right now, you think about, we know that there are people that are food insecure in these moments. We know that there are people who do not know if they're going to have a job tomorrow or they've lost their job. We also know that people are experiencing a lot of discrimination and oppression and racial tension and trauma in these moments, and their safety and security has been completely potentially swept from them. Now, there are people that, even despite this, do self-actualize, but generally speaking, until these needs are met, can we not progress to psychological needs of feeling senses of accomplishment, really recognizing our value, realizing that other people around us value us, and then at the tier of it is this self-fulfillment, recognizing that we are achieving our full potential, that we're being creative, and we're here. I always say to students that we're here fulfilling the purpose that we were brought to this universe to do. And so we talk a lot when we're working with clients, athletes, patients, that we have to remember and recognize where the individual is in terms of this hierarchy of needs. And it can shift. And we're seeing that one day an individual, a client or patient could be like esteem needs. Everything is going well. And then because what's happening in society, the world, their career, it be swept from them. And then they could be rebuilding and be back at a state where they need to focus on their physiological and safety needs of themselves as well as their families. So we talk about that quite a bit and remind students, as well as myself, of always being reminding ourselves of where we are on this need chain. And like I said before, most things in life are about healing. And this is one of my favorite activities to do with students. And it's a way for all of us as humans, when in those moments where we feel that we're not good enough, we're not strong enough, we're not smart enough, we aren't wealthy enough, whatever it might be for us, that we have overcome much, no matter if we're 17, we're 50. And so what we do in the classroom is students put down the date they were born, and what they attempt to do in this timeline is think about all the very positive things that they've accomplished or experienced in their life that have shaped their worldview, shaped their experience, as well as those things that they've endured throughout life that have been less than ideal. It could be death in the family, cancer, it could be overcoming racist events, it could be parents divorcing. And what we do is we process together and recognizing that we're all on this journey. And generally what happens when students go through this activity, they realize that they can face what is in front of them in that given day, that they have the strength, they are resilient, they might feel weak in that moment, but they have overcome a lot of things. And so if you have a moment later on today or this week, I encourage you, if you're feeling down because of COVID, all of the uncertainty, to recognize that you are strong, we are all strong, and we can overcome. And so this is an activity we do in stress management, and sometimes we do in sports psychology as well. So if you have a chance, I encourage you to give it a shot. So all this being said in terms of healing, and to give you a preview of what classes look like, even if they're in person or online, I started my own meditation journey in about 2013, but got more serious with it in 2014. And from that, just in classes, I started seeing a need that our lives are busy, they're stressful, there's not time to connect with other people, let alone ourselves. And in that light, I started beginning most classes with a meditation. So what I would like to do is give you a preview of what you might experience, even if classes are online in the fall, of what we might do together in meditating. So if you'll give me a moment, I am going to pull up some music, and I am going to lead us through a meditation. So in the courses that I teach, my music is now not that. In the courses that I teach, generally the meditations are based upon what the students are going through. Maybe the students just took an exam and are a little stressed about that. Maybe students are nervous about what's happening over the weekend. Maybe a student says that there was a dispute in a class that felt uncomfortable. And so I create a meditation around whatever people are experiencing. So today I'm going to create more of a broad meditation guided for you based upon what I think might be going on in our lives. So without further ado, I'm going to start the music. And Joe or Whitney, can you let me know if you can hear it okay?
Yep, we can hear it.
Sounds good.
Perfect. Okay, so if you have never meditated before, it is okay. In the courses I teach, there are several students that are like, oh no, I don't meditate, Dr. T. And so I welcome you to just follow my voice and my cues, and hopefully over time I might make you a believer. Okay, so if you would, in these times, have your hands palm facing up on the tops of your thighs if you're sitting. If you're lying down in your bed and super comfy, I just ask that your palms are facing up and that your feet are sprawling out, and that you get a little bit more comfortable than you were a moment ago. And if you're sitting, I'd have you sit up a little bit taller. And so where we're going to start is with our breath. So you're going to take a deep breath into your nose, hold your breath at the top, and blow out through your mouth. Calm, steady, slow breath. A deep breath in through your nose and blow out through your mouth. And when you're ready, I'm going to invite you to close your eyes, and I too am going to close mine. Calm, slow, steady breath. You are exactly where you need to be. You are calm. You are peaceful. And you are relaxed. Give yourself permission to slow down just for a moment. To feel the inhale of your breath into your nose and blowing out through your mouth. Tomorrow has already passed, or is yet to come, and yesterday has already passed. In this moment, the best thing you can do for yourself is connect with your soul. Thoughts might come to your mind. That's okay, there's no judgment. Acknowledge the thought. Take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth, and come back to my voice. Allow your shoulders lower a little bit. Pause. Breathe. You have everything you need. You have the strength to overcome any challenge, any circumstance, any oppression. You have a gift only you can give to this. All the toiling, the worry, the pressure. Resist. You are calm. You are confident. And you are relaxed. And if you're sitting in a moment that feels tense and hard, recognize that life gives us days, months, sometimes years and decades where we must endure to be stronger, to be wiser, to help another person who's going through the same thing. You are not forgotten. You are not wrong. You are enough. As long as you have your heartbeat and your breath, you are okay. Recognize it is okay to feel those things. Excitement for college and nervous what it will look and feel like. tension and hope, despair and faith. Everything you feel is okay. Shut none of it away. Stand in your power, your strength. Take a deep breath in through your nose and blow out through your mouth. Remember, you are exactly are meant to be in this moment. Nothing for you to prove. One day, one breath, one step at a time. Ready, take one last energizing breath, taking in all of the positivity, love, hope, faith, resilience, light, whatever it is that you need. And blow out through your mouth any negativity, any shame, any worry, any guilt, any resentment that's not serving your soul. Let it go. May you have a little bit more calm and peace to face whatever the next moment, hour, or day brings. Wiggle your toes, your fingers. When you're ready, you can open your eyes and rejoin me in this present space. And I'm going to turn off the music. And that is a little bit of a preview into what a course with me may look like. Sometimes the meditations might be shorter, sometimes they might be longer. So thank you for joining.
Thank you so much, Dr. Pruitt-White. We are now going to spend some time answering your questions. Now, while we wait for student questions to come in, I've got a couple for you.
Okay.
What advice do you have for our new students?
Oh, advice. I think recognizing that everything that is happening right now is moving us into the future. And I think it's an exciting time to teach in this moment. It doesn't always feel good, but that especially freshmen coming in are going to be part of a new world, and not only a new academy in higher education, but a new world. And there's going to be so many opportunities to grow, to lead in these times. And then I think also recognizing that as uncertain as incoming students may feel, whether they're transfer students or freshmen, that others feel it too. Everywhere from maybe the chancellor of UIC to myself to our department chair, that we are all collectively going through this together, and that students are not alone. I think in these times it could feel, that we're pretty isolated and other people may not be feeling what we are, which is true. No one's experiencing the same things, but that we are all in this together.
Thank you. What is your favorite thing about teaching at UIC?
The students. Absolutely. I have no other words. The students are incredible. Students help me grow. Students provide me community. Students give me love, and I give them love and respect in return. And I don't mean romantic love. I mean just like a spirited. They brighten my day. They challenge me at times, but I do. It's the students that make this position, in my experience, worthwhile.
Awesome. I think that's been our number one answer so far. It's everybody's favorite thing is the students. We know the world's kind of crazy right now. There's a lot of uncertainty with COVID-19. And so when it comes to the fall semester, how have you prepared to teach classes online or in a hybrid format this fall?
Yeah, so a lot of my classes, I hope that I gave a bit of a highlight of this, is that they're they're really communication and interacting with other people and experiential. And so I've been thinking about this a lot. And so in terms of the preparations that I'm making is that how can we get into smaller groups? Because in a class of 50 students, for example, it's going to be hard to give that one-on-one attention to every student. But how can we break it up in ways where we have breakout groups where I'm involved in a group of 5 and giving that feedback has been really the biggest thing in terms of how can I make it a communication, interpersonal experience for students, having office hours, doing check-ins. One of my colleagues, not at UIC, we talked about how education is going to change, is that how can we create evening check-ins of like what are you processing in your readings, and also by keeping capacity. I think I've also been thinking of, are we going to have Zoom fatigue or online fatigue? And so how to make those spaces where students can check into the course with me at multiple times, while also having the content always available to them on our Blackboard online learning management system. So I've been toiling with how I can do that as one person and maybe a TA as well. So my mind is still churning, and I'm open to feedback maybe for future students of what has worked well in other courses or even in your high school experiences or community college or other university experiences too. I'm open.
What success stories do you have? Especially, you and I were talking before this, I'm somebody who's had a hard time getting into meditation. Have you ever worked with somebody who's really resistant to it and they end up reaping the benefits, and how did that change them?
Oh, 100%. I have so many stories in terms of this. In stress management in particular, we meditate every day, even if it's only 3 to 5 minutes. And so at first students come in and they're expecting it to be maybe just only an intellectual experience, and then they start realizing this is going to be a social, an emotional, for some students maybe a spiritual experience as well as intellectual. And you can tell that they're resistant. And so I do remind students that it is okay. We are not socialized to slow down, to connect with our soul, to connect with our breath, to give ourselves positive affirmations. We are socialized to do that, right? And when we stop and we slow down and we heal, we actually can be more productive. We can have clearer thoughts. We lower our heart rate. We maybe feel more affirmed. And so I have had students say, oh, Dr. Tanya, you know what? And I meditate every morning. And so actually last month, as well as at the end of the semester, I was providing Zoom meditation times for students in my courses. And a student emailed me and said, Dr. Tanya, I'm so glad you're doing this, but I want to let you know I'm doing it on my own, so I don't need to come. And to me, it was amazing that someone said, that they didn't need to come to this because they found a meditation guide or style that worked best for them.
Thank you so much. Whitney, what was your question?
Yeah, my question is, as a student that's coming to UIC and experiencing your classes and experiencing, the content and information that you're sharing with them, what does that look like from a professional perspective? So if I'm a new kinesiology student and I want to transition into physical therapy or athletic training, or I want to transition into sport and exercise psychology, what does that look like? How would I work with a patient, client, or student athlete with the skills that I'm learning in your classes?
So I'm going to give an example. And this is another student who was actually a little bit resistant at first to, it was a health coaching course. Kind of like, oh, how come I have to sit down and I have to talk about like my feelings, emotions, and create space and time for my classmate or my client in the class. And then over time, kind of like, oh, I feel like this is really helping me. But what the most awesome part is this actually the same student said, Dr. Tanya, I now am working as a PT aide, and all I'm doing is using the skills that you taught and that I experienced. I don't feel like I taught them. I just like created a space for the students to learn and to experience and to practice. And they said that I don't go a day without, asking open-ended questions or affirming a client or challenging a client to think about if they don't go through this program or this rehab program we've created, what will their life look like for 5 years from now? And these are some of the skills that we teach in the courses that I teach. And so then the students are like, oh, it actually kind of works. And so I think a lot of the gratification for my aspect is that it really comes when the students leave UIC, or when they talk to me and they say, oh, my brother wanted to lose 10 pounds, and so I just started doing health coaching on a car ride that we had, and he didn't even realize it, but then all of a sudden he's like, oh, he became committed and he lost the 10 pounds. And so I really feel that it comes after the class, and like so many of the courses that we teach, is that when students go out and they use it in their professional lives, I have had students say that it's helped their personal relationships, their marriages, and it's just really, I think for me, that feels really good, because I feel like it's a part of the courses are recognizing our own insecurities, where we need to grow, and then also helping others in their own growth as well, in all of the courses that I teach.
Thank you. I don't see that we have any questions, so I will wrap this up. Thank you again to Dr. Pruitt-White. Thank you for everybody that joined us today. We hope that you got excited about your kinesiology classes in the fall. We're doing these every Wednesday all summer. Join us next week. We're going to be doing anatomy and physiology of COVID-19, what is our future, with Abby Breckling and Dr. Tom Cannon. And it looks like we do have a question coming in. So are the courses you mentioned focused on or tailored toward incoming freshmen?
Mm-hmm. Great question. So stress management is a 100 level class that any freshman can take. In terms of 2020, I'm teaching a section, as well as the TA that I work with has her own section. And so a lot of the things that I discussed today at some point in the semester are talked upon, and freshmen through seniors take that course, but we make it a very inclusive space. I believe for the fall also 336, I don't know if freshmen can take that, but otherwise I actually teach mostly upper level courses. However, that is shifting and changing, and recognizing that potentially the earlier we learn some of these skills, the better off we as students would be moving through the program.
All right. Well, thank you again to Dr. Pruitt-White and everybody else for joining us today. Look forward to seeing you on campus, and we'll hang out for a minute if anybody thinks of any other questions. Otherwise, have a wonderful day.
Thank you, everyone.